And welcome to another episode of the SD4L Show. I'm Justin Thind. I'm here with my co-host Matt Sheehan. And today we're coming to you live. So hopefully there's no technical difficulties. But if there are, we'll find out. Matt, are you ready to rock and roll? Ready to dive into this discussion on the near heart attack you almost had today?
I'm afraid so. Really quick before we get to that, this will all be Selection Sunday, the men's basketball team. Two quick shout outs. One for hockey, beating Ohio State 2-1, get to the championship game against Michigan. And then the women's team also making March Madness. They're in the same little regional as undefeated South Carolina, so that'll be a little tough, but hey, it's a tough team. Again, it's going to be primarily men's basketball here. Just had to throw those two shout outs out before we go any further. But yes, Justin, I did, as many as many other state fans, almost suffered cardiac arrest on Sunday because when Virginia flashed on the screen, and that wasn't supposed to happen, I thought, there's only one more spot after this commercial break for Michigan State, St. John's, and Oklahoma. Just one spot left for any of those guys. And I like better odds in my life than just 33% chances. So that was a long commercial break for a lot of Spartan fans out there, man.
Matt, I will tell you about how nerve-wracking it was for me because got ahead of myself, Matt.
Okay.
Sent out some tweets, and then I was nervous. But
sure,
let's roll the intro. Matt, in the wise words of Mark D'Antonio.
There we go.
You can't see it, but pride comes before the fall.
I like it.
Well, Matt, I tweeted this morning, there's no way that Michigan State misses the tournament as long as their name is Michigan State and as long as Tom Izzo is the head coach. I tweeted after that things along the same lines. And then, Matt, we were at the third commercial break. And I was thinking, I have no shame in deleting tweets. In fact, I will delete them and then tell people, well, I had to delete those tweets from earlier today. And then the 9 seed Michigan State Spartans got placed right on the tournament bracket. And once again, I can go ahead and tweet confidently as if there's no chance of ever being wrong about anything. And Amen. That's what I'll continue to do, as no lessons were learned at this time. And I will cover this with a blanket, make sure it's out of sight. Can't see it.
Excellent.
And another day, bullets have been dodged, lessons were not learned. What was your mindset, Matt, when you woke up? Actually, no. First, when you went to sleep, then when you woke up.
You can't wake up if you don't sleep. Right, exactly. Oh, man. The mindset was throughout the morning, check Bracket Matrix to see what was going on. Right. Every single bracket on Bracket Matrix had Michigan State in. And there was only 5, actually, of the 92 brackets uploaded that even had Michigan State as a 9 seed. So you're thinking 10 or 11 seed.
Right.
Selection Sunday starts, and FAU jumps up to the 8 line. It's like, that's weird. They were supposed to be on the cusp of like a 10, 11, kind of like Michigan State. They're all the way up at the 8. So it's either things are FUBAR right now, like we have just thrown everything that we know away. Right. Or the committee really loves them some net rankings. And we were going to find out commercial break by commercial break, region by region, what it was going to be for our Michigan State Spartans. But yeah, I was feeling okay until Virginia popped up on the screen because that was off script. That was not supposed to happen. So, of course, we all know how this ends. Michigan State as the 9. Huge, huge sigh of relief, not just from us angsty Spartan fans that probably need a psych evaluation, but Michigan State posted a video of the little watch party Michigan State was having. You know who else looked like they were sweating through their shirt? Tom Izzo looked a little nervous there, too. So he had the whole thing with his mouth going where it looks like he's chewing the inside of his mouth. And as a functioning anxiety haver like myself, I know precisely what that feeling's like. It's not a good one. So, no, it wasn't just us crazy people over here getting a little worried. It was your head basketball coach, Tom Izzo. But alas, we're okay. We'll talk about the draw. Do we wish it was a 10 seed or an 11 seed? Yeah, maybe. But, hey, It is what it is. You're in. You're dancing for the 26th straight year, and I know that there's a good portion of the fan base doesn't want to hear anything of that. It's been 4 years of this where we're on the bubble, but just for a quick second, just recognize how unique and special that is. Longest recognized streak in the country right now and amongst the top 5 of all time. So dancing, baby. Dancing. Selection Sunday. Never gets old hearing your name.
Matt, what you did today, you bent, but you did not break.
No, I broke a few times, I'm sorry to say. I appreciate you gassing me up, but I was a broken man a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, understandable. I think you make a good point there, though, with the streak. Yes, the season has not gone as hoped. There's no excuses or way to spin the fact that it was an underwhelming season by far. However, to have your floor of the last 26 years be making the tournament, having an underwhelming season is unbelievable. Yeah. And I know a lot of people are kind of fed up with like the last 3-4 years of the program and kind of how it's fallen a little bit. Yep. A lot of those people are younger, kind of like my age, maybe a little younger than that. They didn't get to see the sustained success. I guess they didn't really appreciate decades of greatness before a few years of this. They maybe saw 3 years of greatness, 3 years of this, and that's kind of the extent of their watching basketball at Michigan State. I don't know. I know at times it sounds like a homer take, but if you make the tournament 26 years in a row, and there's other programs, even in this state, who fresh off of like an Elite 8 appearance are not even consistently going to the tournament for the next 4 years off of that.
Yep.
It's hard. It'll never be something that I think anyone should take for granted. I kind of said in my tweet to kind of put into perspective, the last time Michigan State missed the tournament, I wasn't born yet. And now I'm 3 years having 2.5 years, 2 years actually, of having graduated. So it's literally a generation of sustained success at Michigan State. And I don't care how poor of a season they had, which is definitely fair to say and should be said a lot when talking about the season, but you're never going to hear me discount that streak.
Yeah, it's weird, like just talking out two sides of the mouth because, like we just talked about the last 5 minutes, the streak is very important. It's very impressive. It's a relief they made it. But now go do something about it. Now make some hay happen. And I know that it's difficult. Never mind the 1 seed in North Carolina, who's essentially going to be playing 2 home games coming up. But Mississippi State, they got some, no pun intended, they got some dogs on that team too. So it's going to be a challenge, but this is what you get when you're 19-14 overall. Right. You can't be too choosy when it comes to your seeding, especially after the last 48 hours of the mayhem that happened on the bubble. You can't be a little too picky here, okay? Like, you get what you get. You got what you deserved after the season. Yes, it's going to be tough to get to the second weekend. But, hey, I mean, if not for nothing else, I know some diehard State fans out there, they believe it can happen. And the computers also think it could happen, too. North Carolina, they're a 1 seed. Torvik has them as the number 9 team. Michigan State just outside of number 20. The difference isn't too much here. But I guess before we talk about the North Carolina game, we could probably start talking about the Mississippi State game. I guess that'll be important.
For sure.
Thursday at 12:15. Yeah.
Yes. And I should give a disclaimer. I guess I should have started the show with this. Obviously, new background, not the same thing as usual. First time podcasting from my house that I recently moved into. I need to make clear, this is not the plan for like the background. Like the one Michigan State framed newspaper clipping of Ishbia winning the title, like that's not going to sit in the corner. It's not going to be playing. So before anyone is like, this is his sense of interior design, please keep in mind.
Is he in jail? Is he in a prison? Is he in a waiting room construction area? Like, yeah. No, I think that's good. I think you just put all your posters on the ground. That's looking pretty good over there.
Hey, that's how the living room looks. Just 7 pieces of wall decor all lined across the floor on all sides.
Who needs a hammer and nails? Yeah.
So, Matt, very good point. You have to start with the win over Mississippi State before you can talk about a North Carolina game. And in that regard, like these are 2 even teams. I will run through kind of just the bullet points that I tweeted about. I did a quick scout just based off the metrics and box scores and stats and nothing else. Few things that come to mind. Mississippi State is the number 1 3-point defense in all of high major college basketball. They themselves don't do a great job of shooting the 3, but they're elite at gathering offensive rebounds after that. So as a result, they're a very good 2-point percentage team because probably a lot of putbacks going straight up. They they give up the ball a ton. They are atrocious at like not committing turnovers. However, they're top 50 at steals as well. So they're going to give it up to you a lot, and they're going to take it from you a lot. Luckily, Michigan State this year is having an sort of an uncanny season of just elite ball security, top 30 in the entire country, top 10 in high major, I believe. In terms of the actual resumes, very similar in strength of schedule. Both teams are top 20. Both teams, Michigan State has 3 quad 1 wins. Mississippi State has 4. And both teams against quad 2, 6-5 and 4-3. So one game above 500 in quad 2 games. It's basically 2 hard-nosed teams. I know it was said that the SEC is the best conference in basketball, and I watched like 7 or 8 SEC games in the last month, and I can confirm that they are absolutely the best conference in college basketball. And there's people that have watched it way more than I have, and they will say the same thing enthusiastically. So Mississippi State was a 9 seed in their conference tournament, which people are probably like, oh, 9 seed, who cares? They're not going to be that good.
Right.
They went ahead and beat the 1 seed in the SEC, who was also going to be a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament until this loss, Tennessee, by 17 in the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament. And then they lost in the next round to Auburn by 6, who Auburn today won the SEC. And that was Auburn's closest game of the last 2 weeks. They are a very good team. They're a streaky team. Almost all of their losses this year, though, are to good teams. They had a quad 4 loss in the second week of the season to Southern. Other than that, they have pretty much lost to, even if it's an unranked team, it's an Alabama type of unranked team. It's not like it's a South Carolina type of a team. A lot of tournament losses, and then obviously like the Kentucky losses and the Tennessee loss in overtime a few weeks ago. So this is a good team with a good resume. In terms of kind of where their star power, or kind of I guess the way the roster's distributed comes out to be, they have a very, very, very electric true freshman point guard who many were saying should have been SEC Freshman of the Year over Reed Sheppard, but I think like Reed Sheppard is as good as it gets too. So Josh Hubbard, that's his name, 17.1 points per game. And against Auburn, their last game of the year, the 6-point loss, he had 20 points. So he doesn't just decide to only show up against the bad teams, pad its stats, and then only get 10 points against the good teams. And then their second leading scorer name is Tolu Smith, 15.2 points per game, 8.4 rebounds per game. He is a 6'11 big man, which not ideal for Michigan State. And against Auburn, he had a double-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds. He is obviously a big part of the reason that they're so good at the offensive rebounding metrics. Beyond those two, they don't have anyone else that scores more than 10 points per game, but they have 8 guys that score between 4.5 and 9.5 points per game. And Cameron Matthews is the guy that has the 9.5 points per game. And then Shaquille Moore has about 8 points per game. So about 4 guys that have 8+ points per game, but 10 guys that have 4.5 points per game or more. So that's the breakdown, Matt.
I want to pull out Cameron Matthews a little more too, because not only does he score 9.5, but he was on the SEC all defensive team. All right. Like it's 6'7", 230. This is a guy that's a linebacker that's playing college basketball. So who will he be tabbed on? Will it be out on the perimeter guarding a Jaden Akins? My guess would be no. My guess is going to be somewhere inside with Malik Hall, and that's going to be quite the matchup for Malik to go against, should Tolu Smith take whoever is the 5 on the court that day. So it could be a chess match with Tom Izzo, see if he wants to go small ball, get them in awkward positions. But just talking about, their players to watch out for, Cameron Matthews, certainly defensive stalwart over there. Like, he is solid. Now, Tolu Smith, just like you said, 6'11". I'm not having a great time seeing that, because we've seen just average big men have some pretty good games against Michigan State. But I do wonder if this will be the key of the game here. And look, it's just as obvious as, can you limit what Josh Hubbard can do? He's having a fantastic season, as you said over there, JT. 5'10", 185 pounds. He wasn't even like a blue chip recruit either. This guy was a 3-star coming out of high school, but he has proven all the haters wrong. But what happens when he's paired up across from a 23-year-old, let's say AJ Hogarth, that's locked in on defense, a Tyson Walker that's locked in on defense? Of course, SEC, incredible basketball. But AJ and Tyson can be some of the best defenders that this young player has seen. So can they make the game frantic enough for this kid? Or by God, is he just going to be stones enough to continue this incredible true freshman season? Like, I think that there lies your story of the game right there. The defense against Josh Hubbard, because that's going to be it. I got to say, a little interesting that Mississippi State, like, kind of just at first glance, reminds me a little bit of like North Carolina light. I'm never going to call a tournament game like a build-up game, but it'd be a nice preview game for what you could see. Dominant big man, point guard that is just sensational. Now, North Carolina has a Cormac Ryan that shoots about 60% from three. There are some differences, don't get me wrong, but point guard is great. Big man is really good. Everywhere else in the middle, they'll figure it out. So
kind of reminds me last year of Michigan State's 1-2 matchup, first two matchups in the tournament last year, where Marquette and USC, well, USC and Marquette, kind of the other way around. There they got kind of lucky where they didn't go against a dominant big man, but they went against Tyler Kolek and the guards on USC that I can't remember, all Pac-12 kind of guys. That AJ Hogarth locked up both of those point guards back-to-back games.
Boogie Ellis was a
Boogie Ellis. Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah.
And then they had some wing players that were thriving coming off of pin downs and stuff like that. And Michigan State kept those guys smothered. So not comparing those two teams to this year's teams, but more so saying Michigan State had two similar identities back-to-back that they went up against, and they beat both of them. So if Michigan State can get over the first hurdle here, and you're looking at a guy like a Josh Hubbard and a Tolu Smith back-to-back, point guard, center, big man kind of thing. And then next round, like you're saying, RJ Davis, and then Armando Bacot, similar profile scouting wise, you might be good for the whole weekend playing the same kind of play style. But with this matchup, like, they're going to have AJ Hogarth locked in as much as he was against Tyler Kolek last year, against Boogie Ellis last year. Tyson Walker, he always brings it on defense. It seems like even the games where he's hampered by the groin injury, which I don't think he looked that hampered at all in the Big Ten tournament, so hopefully he's turned a corner. But even in the games where he has looked hampered laterally, it doesn't show on defense. Jaden Akins, when he's not hitting shots, for the most part, he's still locked in on defense. He still has the active hands. And it seems like almost every game he has patented this kind of just running into the paint from the corner, put back, hustle, offensive board into points thing. And that's like become his brand almost over the last couple of years, where he goes like 10 minutes without even thinking about shooting, without even looking at the rim. And then suddenly here comes Jaden Akins making his hustle play, going back down the other end, locking guys up, and then a few minutes later hitting a three. So if you can give like 2 or 3 of those spurts, even if he's not going to be putting up like 15 points this game, that's going to be crucial. Somebody's going to need to be keeping the energy up, especially when you don't know about AJ and how he's going to be locked in or not. And he seems to show up in these March games, but at the same time, you would think that there's other moments like senior night or the just all these games where like it's like 3 games in a row of people saying, is AJ going to do anything? And then you're thinking, all right, the 4th game, he has to be reading Twitter, has to be doing this, he's going to come out motivated. And then the 4th game is just as bad as the first 3 in that sequence. So you never really know, but in March, he's looked like he's been locked in. Tyson, he's going to be locked in. He needs to just not be passive and go like 8 minutes without attempting a shot like he kind of did in the second half of the Ohio State game out of halftime. And there needs to just be a consistent shot hunting from him. Malik Hall, I know he didn't play well in the Indiana game, but I mean, he's been as consistent as you could possibly hope for somebody to be, which he's kind of turned that around from his whole season or whole career arc before this. And hey, Mady Sissoko, I would say he played his best game in about 20, 21 months here this past game. It was since probably that Kentucky game that he was looking insanely active. I had about 8 rebounds in his first 8 minutes of action. I don't know what his final line was, but I don't know. Again, like AJ, like you'd think there's so many other instances where he would come in as locked in and because nothing he did in that game and against Purdue required like skill. It was all effort. Like obviously it's skill. Like I couldn't go out there and do that just if I tried my best. But like
I believe in you. No. Don't sell yourself short over there. Come on.
You don't want to see my line from last Monday's game. Good thing DK and Carter Elliott aren't in this chat and to drop it. But anyway, so what he did, it was mostly effort, and I think he can do that a lot of games. And I know Izzo thought he could do that a lot of games, and that's why they didn't take someone from the portal. And not to go on a separate tangent, but it wasn't like this is a much longer discussion. But this offseason, when Michigan State didn't take someone from the portal, it wasn't because they were like, you know what, we want D- play from our centers, and we're good with that, and we'd rather have that than using the portal. No, it was. I think, as I was probably kind of saying, I think that these guys can give me B- play with what, like these centers on the roster can give us B- play. Someone from the portal might be able to give me B+ play, but that's not worth disrupting the entire dynamic of the roster and the chemistry. Now, when those centers go out there and give you C-, D+, F kind of play, that's them misevaluating the talent or not being able to develop it properly. So they do deserve blame for how they've played. But when they didn't take people from the portal, it's not that they were saying, let's just go ahead and have bad center play this year. It was they were expecting much better center play than this. They were wrong about that. And then here you kind of are. So kind of tangent there, but that's how we've ended up here. And Carson Cooper last time against USC played really well. If those two guys, and maybe Jackson Kohler gives you 6 points here and Xavier Booker probably more at the 4, those guys can give you some production and the guards come through. There's no reason they can't beat pretty much anybody in this region, but that's a lot of ifs and not a lot of consistency that we've seen so far.
You know how the big men can play a B- game on Thursday, JT? Do you know how they could do that in my eyes? It's very easy. I got it. It's a quick solution here.
Catch the ball with 2 hands?
That's going to help. That, you know what? Yep, I like that first. Second, between the 3 of them, Marty Sissoko, Carson Cooper, Jackson Kohler, use all 15 of your fouls. Because Tolu Smith from the line, 58% shooter. Cameron Matthews, hey, like we just said, this guy's a linebacker that plays basketball. Shoots like it on the free throw line too, 55% from the line. By and large, Mississippi State, one of the worst teams in the nation at free throws. And, well, has that ever been important in a March game? They are 325th in the nation at free throw percentage, 67.2. So, I'm never one to call for violence. I want to see a good, clean game. But if we can leave the game with some bruises on our forearms from hard fouls, I'm not going to be upset with it. Make them count. No, just whispering fouls onto these guys.
Yeah,
make it count.
That's our biggest pet peeve probably in all of basketball is when they foul someone around the rim and it's like maybe like a little pat on the head as they're sliding through to block it. Like you got to really get your money's worth if you're going to be committing fouls.
Yes. Yes. I want people in row 15 of the 200 levels to hear that smack of the hand or the thud of the elbows. Correct. Again, not calling for a violent game. I'm not a madman. Just an aggressive one. That's all. Just a physical one. I think that's fair. I don't think it's out of line. It's March. I mean, come on. What am I going to do? Put my kids' gloves on for any game? No. Lordy, burn up all 15 of those fouls. And hey, Nick Sanders, Stephen Izzo, they got 10 more combined on the bench too. I'm sure they could wreak some havoc. Let's go.
That's right.
Let's go.
Yeah. And maybe we'll see some Davis Smith free throws with 30 seconds left if they got some coaching on there. But speaking of ties to other things in the Michigan State ecosystem.
Okay.
Rocket Watts is the thumbnail for this episode.
Hey now. Let's go.
Battle for Rocket Watts' former allegiance.
It's the Rocket Watts Bowl, baby.
Yep.
That's right. Shout out to Oakland too. I was so bummed to see them get Kentucky because I was ready to have Oakland be a first round pick. And then I saw the Wildcats pop up, and it's like that's just about the last 3 seed that I want to see pop up. You talk about going on a tangent. Sorry, but
no.
Watts. One time for Rocket.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you like kind of just random thoughts from around the bracket because like for me, what I had thought going into the tournament, like I'd say like 3-4 days ago, I was sitting there thinking like, you know what, Tennessee, I'm putting them in the Final Four. I'm writing it in Mark Redeker, who they're playing. Then they have this loss to Mississippi State. And then I'm sitting there thinking, like, is Tennessee fraudulent or is Mississippi State just that good? Now I'm hoping that the answer is not the second one. But if it is, then maybe my Tennessee pick is kind of looking good. I think at the end of the day, the amount of teams that can win the national title is still not a large list. And if anything, it's starting to shrink a little bit. And that's not usually how it goes. Like you're kind of selling yourself on teams. Oh, this team can win a title. That team can win a title. I'm selling myself on Auburn here recently. Watched their game today against Florida. Florida played well, but Auburn's just on another level. And
I feel like Florida. Yeah.
Those guys everyone at Auburn's built like a tank. That dude Cardwell, just a fun dude to watch. Makes absolute theatrics out of his free throw shooting. It's the man is stressed out of his mind when he has to shoot, and if he makes them, he's as jubilant as it gets, and I love it. And then Chani Broome, he's just as dominant as it gets. I think that Auburn team can make a run. I was kind of skeptical of them before the SEC tournament just because they are absolutely unstoppable at home and they were 500 on the road. But now they went on this neutral site tournament and they swept the whole thing. I'm all in on Auburn.
I'm shaking my head because I'm a little upset because I was on Auburn ever since early to mid-February. I was like, that team is going to be making my Final Four.
Yeah.
And now after this run they just had in the SEC tournament, like that's not fun. Like I'm not calling any great shot here. Like, no, everyone's going to be on Auburn now. So
Yeah.
kind of lost some luster there. If we're just going to make this segment into like what
Yeah.
teams do you have for Final Four, I got one actually out of Michigan State's region. I do. And I'm really, really going to strike a chord here because I know people have some things to say about this conference. And no, it's not the Mountain West. I'm not that crazy. But I like St. Mary's. I do like St. Mary's. And we always talk about how old Michigan State is, how old their experience is. Do you know who's even older than Michigan State? St. Mary's is even older. And I got to tell you, whenever I see them play Gonzaga, minus the game they lost, of course, but that's when Gonzaga was really churning it over. St. Mary's is a nice physical team, and I think that this is a year they could break through. Again, I hate to say that on a Michigan State podcast. I would love to be wrong here. I'd love to see Michigan State be the one in the Final Four, but the 5-seed St. Mary's, who kicks it off against Grand Canyon and then Alabama, with those games in Spokane, and then they're in the West Regional too. I'm not going to say that St. Mary's is this incredible fan base that travels, but not bad as far as like staying close to home. I don't hate St. Mary's, so that's where I'm at.
And there you have it. Grand Canyon is now locked to win the first round.
Congratulations. By 28 points in the first round. Can you believe it? Take the alt line if you could of -20 for the Antelopes if it's available.
Speaking of Alabama, Matt.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Has anyone ever rejected a job quicker than Nate Oats signing on the dotted line of the Alabama extension 27 minutes after Juwan Howard was fired?
I'm always going to remember the Nate Oats tenure at Michigan. That was special. That was a sight to behold.
Yeah.
That was defiant. That was swift, and I don't imagine that was a coincidence. I'm just going out on a limb here.
Not.
Yeah.
And the funniest part was that extension had been in the works for like months. They waited until the second that job opened to announce it. I don't know if it was as an intentional slap in the face, because I don't know if Greg Byrne at Alabama really has anything against. Well, I mean, I guess sure. They did just lose someone in the playoff to the athletic department.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So that was kind of funny. But I'd heard like Alabama had gotten that extension ready to go back when Saban had retired, if not even sooner than that. I know they're working on the money. But at Coaching Changes, the anonymous Twitter account that has like current or past college coaches kind of running it and their insiders, they tweeted right after that extension that he had no interest in the Michigan job because Nate Oats really, really wants the other job in the state of Michigan when it opens up. And I know that to be true. I don't know if Nate Oats is going to feel that way if Izzo retires in 6 years. And by then, like Nate Oats has like 2 Final Fours at Alabama and a national title appearance. But I also don't know how Izzo would feel about maybe him being the next pick. But I guess to wrap up this segment, I did just want to touch on that. And that is indeed the case. Nate Oats used to drive up to Michigan State from Ypsilanti High School to, I don't know if it was Ypsilanti High School, but from the Ypsilanti area. And he used to kind of learn from Izzo and stuff like that. So that was just very funny for me to see. And will be interesting to see what they do with that job. Any other thoughts, Matt, when you were watching the bracket?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna be the worst co-host of all time. No, my only thought was just on seeing Michigan State's name pop up. No, if you want any thoughts of like instant reaction to, hey, Florida on the 7 line, I was not registering. The only teams I cared about were Michigan State, Oklahoma, Virginia, Indiana State, all these bubble teams. So no, Justin, I would love to come here as like an esteemed professional and say, oh yeah, I really thought that was interesting when that matchup popped up.
Yeah.
And instant reaction? No.
Matt, the funny thing is I was doing exactly what you said you weren't doing, like, oh, Florida on the 7 line and all that. And like in a group chat that we're in with a few people, I was like just making random comments like that. Absolutely nobody could care less, or nobody cared less, and nobody's reacting to any of it. I was like, wow, Gonzaga as a 5 line. And it was just crickets and people saying, oh no, here's the streak's over. And then I try to tie it back, and I'm like, no, like brand power. If the Gonzaga's a 5, MSU's about to be a 9. But, you know, after that, I started losing some hope. When Virginia popped up there, everybody in the all caps was like, it's over. And then I went to try to talk about how Colorado State should have not been in the playoff game. That didn't get much traction either. So no more Colorado State talk when the MSU tournament streak is on the line, I've learned.
I just wish they could just do it in the first commercial break. That's all I wish. But no,
Yeah.
like as I'm sitting here and like actually like sat down and looked at the bracket afterwards,
Yeah.
I got like, like truly like that Florida game, and not just the Florida game against whoever comes out of Boise State and Colorado, but man, if Kolek's not 100% right for Marquette, I mean, Shaka Smart, I know that he had that great runner with VCU, but I mean, last year when Michigan State played against him, we pulled up a bunch of stats on how not successful Shaka Smart actually is in March ever since that Final Four run. He hasn't gotten out of the first weekend ever since.
Yep.
Like, Florida, I don't hate to make a run here, I got to say. So, like, sorry to just continue this, segment of like, hey, who are some sleepy teams? Like, I do like Florida out of the South, and then Midwest, I'll make it short. I'll just pick a random team out here. No, I'm not. It's Purdue. Let's just fast forward it. Am I hedging my happiness by saying that? Am I doing a reverse jinx? Yeah, I might be, but let's just call it Purdue out of the Midwest.
Yeah, if they make it out of the region, it would be devastating. It would be absolutely just the worst vibes.
I'll cry. No, I won't cry. I'll just like stew in like my own silence and just be like, oh, officiating helped them, which could probably be true. That's what they tried to rely on for the Big Ten tournament. They got lucky against Michigan State, but not so lucky against Wisconsin. So we'll see if they want to take that strategy into the big dance of, hey, we're just going to really hope that the officials are going to be our second best player behind Zach Edey here, because that seems to all they wanted to try in the Big Ten tournament. Okay,
Matt,
they went 1-1 in that. So
you touched on this earlier. And the fact that how Michigan State should have been a 10 seed and all that. Michigan State was like almost a consensus like 10 seed. I think in the 92 brackets, I think there were like a 10 seed and like 86 of them or something like that. Yeah. Michigan State, if they would have been the 10 seed in the exact region that they're in, if the Mountain West kind of wasn't devalued in the eyes of the committee and Nevada didn't get that 10, if Michigan State was a 10 in this same region, they're playing in that game, they're playing Dayton, who they had about a 63% chance of beating. Then you're looking at a next round matchup against Arizona, who Michigan State played and almost beat while not playing that well, and that was out west.
Yep.
Above them, you're looking at Baylor as the 3, Clemson as the 6. Baylor's not that good. Actually, Michigan State ran them off the court, but I was more so talking about stuff that I've seen in the last 2 months. That one game was not a fluke. They have not looked that good in like the 4 other times I watched them.
I agree. I don't get it when I see Baylor, to be honest.
Yeah.
I must miss every single one of their wins, because whenever I've watched Baylor, like they just lose, and they don't look the part of a Scott Drew team completely.
Right.
So I don't get it.
So if they were in that bottom half of the bracket, Matt, you probably, now granted, like 99% of people that don't watch Michigan State at the moments where they look like they have potential, like they're gonna be like, oh, you're crazy, you're a homer for saying Michigan State over Arizona. But like, that's really not that crazy to somebody that's watched Michigan State be this close and like a billion games that they've lost and they've played well in without like more than 2 out of their 5 starters playing well. And then seeing how that game in Arizona unfolded, like I get there was a little bit of a vanity second half comeback. But like still, like that game is as winnable of a 10 versus 2 as you would have seen. I think you could have penciled them in the Elite 8. Obviously, the games don't take place on paper, but what could have been had they got the rightful seed that they deserve. But MSU gets too much respect.
I know. Too big of a brand.
Yeah.
We're too sexy for the television. That's why we're the first game of this tournament.
Yes. Very good point. Not
Do you
ideal.
like that, by the way?
No.
I was okay.
No.
That was a quick answer. Okay. No. Wow.
No. Because what happens, Matt, is it's similar to like when the Sixers get eliminated in the Eastern Conference semis. You can't enjoy the Eastern Conference finals or the finals. I just couldn't care less. Similar to that effect of like, if Michigan State loses early, like I'll be tracking every single game. I'll be watching every single game, but you're not like really caring about who, especially within the region. It really destroys the viewing experience in region. But like, yeah, I mean, I guess you're only talking about a handful of games that it happens before. Otherwise, like, it's not like you could have chosen it to take place 2 weeks later. So it'll be fine. I also don't like the fact that it's in the early in the day. Just the vibes are always off. If it's at like a 7:00 game, you just feel more locked in. You feel like the guys are probably more locked in. But I mean, both teams are playing at the same time, so there's not really any disadvantage like that. But I don't know. It's a mental block. If I just see they're playing at 12:15, it's just, you're like, well, I don't know, not locked in.
I don't hate it. I either want to be the first game of the day or the very last game of the day. But I actually want to talk about what happened last year. You all always be thankful for the selection committee is them penciling a USC game at 9:30 their time against Michigan State in the first round. Like that, you talk about a gift of a time slot. Oh man, those Trojans were just waking up to the body clocks right there. So that's what I had a good feeling that the first weekend might go okay for Michigan State last year. But yeah, I just want to get the game out of the way for better or for worse. Whether hey we can sit back and enjoy the rest of the games on Thursday, or if we can just be punching air for the rest of the day, and then maybe hopefully rally by the 9 o'clock slate.
Matt, you know what needs to change more so than anything else in this country?
Talk to me.
Having a West region game take place in North Carolina.
That kind of throws me for a loop, or just the fact that there's always a sub-regional game either in Greensboro or Charlotte. Like how do Duke and North Carolina always get guaranteed home games basic's like when the tournament starts? And I know I'm grasping at straws here and I'm whining before the game even begins, but every single year.
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Yep.
Surely there are other cities that have airports and hotels that can host events.
Yes.
Surely.
I have never in my life come across someone from from Greensboro. Never once. No one's like, hey, I'm from Greensboro. Nope, never.
No.
It's a simulation. People from there don't exist. And here we are, giving them tournament games every single year.
I like that. Every single year? Yep, everyone.
Well, Matt, this game.
It's beginning. It's March Madness, isn't it? We're here.
-1.5. Michigan State is the favorite in most U.S. major sports books right now.
Yep.
I don't know. That seems about right.
That seems great,
actually. I would put it.
That seems bang on. Yeah.
We'll have to see how it goes. Do you have any closing thoughts on this game?
I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be able to watch a team coming up on Thursday. Again, it's a very weird spot to be because has the season been what we wanted? No. What are you crazy? No. This has been underwhelming. But with that said, you get your chance to turn things around by making the tournament, and on top of that, the streak, I know it's not the end-all, be-all. Say what you will about it, but, like, it's a damn cool streak, guys.
Yeah.
Like, so that – excuse me for, like, taking 10% of my emotions and putting it towards, like, happiness and relief before I put the other 90% towards just angst for Thursday. So that's my closing thoughts.
Matt, everyone watching, just know the team that you follow is in the National Collegiate Athletics Association men's basketball tournament. And there is a lot of teams that cannot say that.
And women's too. We're one of the handful of teams
that have
both men's and women's.
Now they have to play Dawn Staley in the second round if they make it out of the first, and that's very unfair.
That will be tough. And the women's, of course, as a lot of people know, the first two rounds are at the home sites of the higher seeded teams. Like you guys know what I mean. The one seed hosts them.
Yeah.
It's not easy, is what I mean. That's gonna be hard. South Carolina's got a good crowd too.
Yeah. Is that also in Greensboro? No, I don't know.
But, might as well be, yeah. Right.
Everything in college sports takes place in Greensboro from here on out. But appreciate everyone joining live. Looked like the audio quality was good from our end. Hopefully it was the same from your end. Make sure you like and subscribe. And it's definitely good doing this live. We'll probably do this more. Probably not in the off season, but maybe football games right after that. Something like
Why
that.
Not?
So
let's just do every show live. Let's do every show live, Justin. Let's go.
We shall do that. So everyone, make sure you go ahead and comment for the algorithm, or comment if you have any thoughts, but at least for the algorithm. And go ahead and let us know kind of how this went, if there was any sort of issues that you saw technically. And I promise that eventually in the coming weeks, maybe months, I'll have something on the wall. At least one thing on the wall.
No, add one thing to your floor every time you record. That's
There's other frames right behind me on the floor. So
yeah, move those around. Yeah, and like make sure that tree gets bigger and bigger every time you're like. I want by November, I want it to look like you are in the Amazon. That's how big I want that tree behind you to look.
Is this where I admit that that's a fake tree?
No, it's real. Come on, just play along with it. That's if I buy more fake trees, then I don't care how you have to do it. Just make sure it looks dense in there.
Maybe, yeah. Go ahead and comment for those that are into the interior design space, or just people that have TikTok and they see cool stuff on there. how I should decorate the back of that. I was thinking maybe like one of those like grass wall type of things, but I don't necessarily know the intricacies of how that would go.
Just go
But
for it.
I can look that up. But yeah, if anyone has any ideas, or if it's just put a bunch of posters related to sports up there, I guess that works too. But I am all ears. Let's go ahead and make this somewhat lively so it does not look like a dungeon or a prison. And with that, appreciate everyone tuning in for this week's episode of the SD for All show. We will be back after the results of the Michigan State and Mississippi State battle for the MSU acronym. So appreciate everyone tuning in. See ya.